There's a story behind this recipe. It was handed down through the generations, not of my family, but of my wife's family. So maybe I'm not even the right one to tell it, but I'm the only one here right now, so it's getting told one way or the other. A tree fell down 175 years ago and crushed a Doberman Pinscher. Small farm, northeastern Kansas. This Doberman Pinscher's name was Blarry, and the owner of that Pinchy, little boy, was my wife's grand something, I don't know. Over there, farming the big ham blades that they used to slice apart the scalp creatures from down south. They didn't even have bodies, they were just floating scalps. And they came in, 'cause the breeze was northerly, just chomping down on all the housing. Wind and rain billowing in through the holes left behind, along with an unhealthy helping of scalp creatures. And then more chewing was ensuing. It was the scalps and not the wind that knocked the tree over. And Blarry, I know that everybody wants a happy ending for the dog. This dog was paced, okay? You'd look at it and say, I'm calling the FBI equivalent of 911. I think we've got proof that we're not alone in the universe here. This slime just winked at me. So the grand something, her name was Matilbo. Matilbo, Blarry's former owner, catches wind there's some sort of an alien puddle being that's come to take up residence. She's like, oh, first scalp people now this. Well, one heck of a week, let me tell you. So she goes out with her binoculars, and Heidi huddles up behind every shrub. She's a good farmer, but sometimes the shrub weeds creep in, trying to horn in on the ham bone nutrients. It's not even bone, it's just blades. Shrubs can't get any loving out of those roots, but they're just hopeful, because nobody's planting bones anymore since the Marrow Wars from 12 loops back in the making of the real cool quilt. Eventually, she's out there, she's slipping like a fish between gusts of scalp enemies, one bush to the next, binocularing her some vision until she sees that alien puddle, immediately recognizes it as her dog. Well, binoculars, she presses the button on the bottom of them, turns it into a big-time rifle. Sort of thing where you could bring it in modern days even, down to one of those states where, like, if you don't have a rifle, you're basically an amoeba. You could walk in with that thing and they would say, congratulations, multicellular organism. You don't have to just split into your own babies anymore. So she doesn't know who did this, right? She didn't see the scalps chew the tree down. She's just blasting. There's a hair filling the sky. People upwind from her are thinking, oh great, now we've got hair monsters too. They don't even know. She's out there solving the problem. Runs out of ammo real early on. That doesn't stop her. She's got all these raccoons that she's trained to be at her beck and call. It helps to sharpen the ham blades. They just chew off the excess gristle, then they're slicing better. Got a couple of hand blades with her too, occasionally just goes full Samurai Jack on a passing head part. But also, the raccoons, they're bringing her ammo. And when they can't find any, they're spitting out their own teeth at her saying, hey Matilbo, put this in the gun. She says, thanks very much, raccoon, I think I will. Stuffs it on in there, cocks it on back, blasts apart another scalp. This one used to be a redhead, but only used to was, 'cause now it's more of a scorched kind of carbon coloration, 'cause she done it again. There's no stopping Matilbo. She's crossing state lines now. Finds herself in Texas, trying to figure out where all these dog-killing, tree-chewing monsters are coming from, and she's taken out more than a few deer along the way. She's not sure. Maybe they were responsible. Sometimes when they get spooked, they get kicky. They might have kicked. But anyway, Down in like the real South. Not this imaginary South they tell you about in the media where it's all cowboy hats and harmonica songs about how your daughter's gonna grow up to be a good girl or else you're gonna go into hiding in the basement with a lampshade and curtain and see if you can figure out how to fashion yourself a new personality out of raw cloth. Emerge from the basement. One of your hands is now just a blunt instrument and you use it to play the bongos. Skimming every book you ever read. You don't know what the dialogue was. Choices have to be made. Only so many minutes in the day. You gotta allocate. You're gonna read what Fiction Jones said? I shouldn't do that. I've got dirty sink, gotta get the sponge all greased up with the bleach sauce so that I can make the stinkies go away. Matilbo finds a crown lying in the dirt, and it's chuckling, 'cause it has like one of those tiny metal mouths, and it's magnets, but it can pull 'cause it's got strength of heart and conviction, and it believes in what it's doing, and what it happens to be doing is it's got a secret crown nose. It's out there snorting out snakes. Snakes are bunched up, coiled around each other. Matilbo thinks they're getting it on. That's not a public doing thing. Blasts the snakes and the crown says, "Hey!" Clack. And it always finishes its sentences with clack because of the magnets, but it says that to her. "What are you doing, Matilbo?" Matilbo, she just loads back another raccoon tooth up in her piece, says, "I'm doing you death now." Shoots the crown. Bullet ricochets off into the sky. All of a sudden, crown rises up on a giant stack of angry scalps. Wind gusts real hard. Crown comes back down. Matilbo is swarmed. How's she gonna escape from this? I bet you think it's the raccoons. It's not. Raccoons are just chunks of skeleton by the time Matilbo unencumbers herself. But how does she unencumber herself? Hand blades. Pay attention. She's soaked in blood. Crown's looking at her like, "I accounted for everything but you, Matilbo." Matilbo just shakes the blood off her eyebrows and says, "Well, you need a new accountant. Slicety dice. Invasion's over." Goes back home, all the food is spoiled while she's been out slaying evil. Sits down on her front door step, stops, asks herself, "My dog's dead." Gets up from the stoop, goes inside, pokes around in the cupboard, looks at a bottle of jam and a slice of homemade pretzel loaf. It's been like she ain't even toasted it, and it's toast. It's been sitting out. She's been gone for months now. Every step of that journey was in fact an actual foot step. Her feet are sore. She's not even eating the jam. She just drizzles it on her heels 'cause it feels nice in the chill Kansas air. Now what's food left? Not pretzel thing. Not her foot doing. She's got to make a new recipe. Goes down into the basement where the forbidden foodstuffs are. Finds eternity bacon. That's the one that's been salted so hard you could try to rot it and it wouldn't even rot. You get like a cannon full of spores and just blast them all over it. Spores would come running back into the cannon saying thanks but no. Gets the bacon, right? Chops off a bunch with her hand blades. Right into a skillet. It comes out, she dabs off the excess grease. They don't even know what an artery is yet. She's doing it anyway. Pops it in her mouth. And that's the recipe. Cook and then eat bacon.